Jesus. I mean, trust me, baby.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is another episode of Hold My Best Sports. This your man H-Rap B, live in the place to be. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all already know the instructions. Hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend to tune in. I am live on Facebook. I am live on YouTube at you already know, theendofthebench.com. That is theendofthebench.com. Thank you for tuning in. It is important that you hit that like, click that link, and do everything that I'm asking because it's important. Thank you. This is going to be a little fun. The NCAA tournament is started. We got trades in the National Football League. We got a whole lot of talk and scuttlebutt that's going down. What I want to do for you is break these things down. Hopefully you participate because it is not a dissertation. It is a conversation. Again, I'm H-Rap. Hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend and tell a friend what's going on, how y'all doing. Now, National Football League is always fun. The National Football League has become a 12-month league. 12-month league year. It is no longer from mid-July until February. It is January through December. The National Football League, as usual, is heading up our airwaves. You got free agent signings. You have big blockbuster trades, quarterbacks. They are trying to create a controversy. I'm going to do away with that nonsense. You got NBA talk. Who's the MVP? What constitutes the MVP? We only got, 13 more games in the regular season, which is about a week. You're talking about a week. By this side next week, more than likely, the NBA, I think the NBA playoffs might be starting in like a week and a half. Usually after the NCAA tournament, we jump right into the NBA playoffs. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the dark horse teams. We're going to talk about the front runners, and then we're going to talk some NCAA basketball. This is my absolute favorite time of the year. We're going to talk about, are the blue bloods running out of blood? Are they running out of steam? Are people no longer loving the blue bloods? Everybody, you got the top four seeds of traditional, three of the top four seeds of traditional powerhouse teams, and one from the old days, the Houston Cougars. You got UConn, the favorite, UNC with about 9 losses. You've never seen a 1 seed be 9 losses, and Purdue, who's these days looking like Purdue. So with that being said, let me get this thing started with the National Football League. The National Football League set the world on fire over the last few weeks with the signing of people like Kirk Cousins. You got NFL free agency is in full effect. You got a bunch. You got one of the best safeties in the league. I think he has 19 interceptions over the last 3 seasons, and he's unemployed. But the biggest deal of the weekend is this. Let's start, correction. Let's start small and work our way up to the top. Chase Young, he's in the midst of a neck procedure. They knew about it. They still signed him to a 1-year, $13 million deal. That is the New Orleans Saints. What we're going to see is Chase Young blow up the spot, kill the game, sign a big deal, and he's going to move on. Shout out to him. And you also got the San Francisco 49ers making one of my favorite moves. They're going to pay my man. They're going to get my man Josh Dobbs paid. They signed Josh Dobbs as a backup to Brock Purdy. The great thing about this is Kyle Shanahan knows how to run an offense. Kyle Shanahan knows how to run an offense. He does what I perceive as actual coaching. What is actual coaching? Instead of telling a round peg to get into a square hole, what he does is tell a round peg. What he does is not have a hole and build the thing around the peg. And what that means is this. He sees what you're good at. He takes what you're good at and makes the game plan around you instead of trying to fit you into the situation. This is what, in a few minutes, I'm going to be talking about my main man, Justin Fields, in Pittsburgh. But that is, in my estimation, the problem with the black quarterback today. The black quarterback is trying to be coached by like a statue as traditional quarterback, i.e. a white quarterback. This is not Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman had little wheels before he got hurt. So this is not Dan Marino. This is not Drew Bledsoe. This is not even Doug Williams or Warren Moon. These are more in the prototype of a Randall Cunningham, a Roger Staubach, or a Michael Vick, anybody with some wheels in the history of the game. These players, and this is why I said a few months ago when I first started up, at some point, one of these teams is going to bring about a college level coach who's offensively innovative, and they're gonna pair him with one of these non-traditional quarterbacks, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Jaden Daniels, the my man Williams, Caleb Williams. They're gonna get paired with a offensive nuanced guy, and they are going to tear a butthole into the league. But up until and including that moment, you got guys like the guy down there with my man in Houston, and you got my man in San Francisco. He's going to be a trash. He's going to make Josh Dobbs, in the event that Brock Purdy gets injured, he's going to make Josh Dobbs look like the quarterback he looked like at Tennessee. This dude is a legitimate rocket scientist. So all that, well, he's intelligent. We don't want to hear all that. When, ain't none of y'all, it's probably nobody in the league as smart as Josh Dobbs. So big up to the 49ers for that. Mike Williams went to the Jets, and two of the biggest deals of the week are in play with the Chicago Bears. The first deal is the wide receiver, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen with the Chicago Bears, which I'm going to be perfectly frank and honest. I'm not going to cut any corners. I'm not going to hedge any bets. This shocked me. The reason it shocked me, because you have C.J. Moore. Now you got Keenan Allen. You signed Swift as a running back. You already had a very solid running back. You signed a couple offensive linemen. At that point last week at this time, I was thinking, man, maybe the Bears don't keep my man Justin because they're stacking the deck. And then I started saying, well, this is Chicago and the Bears. They're in a bad situation. And it is shot at being Caleb Williams pulled his records back. I know a lot of people in Chicago think it's a foregone conclusion that my man Caleb Williams will be the next Chicago Bear quarterback. I got people, I'm watching all these reports. I'm on Twitter, watching reports, talking to the homies and all that, this, that, and the third. And a lot of people saying Jaden Daniels may be even better than Caleb Williams, which is my personal favorite. Jaden Daniels, I wish somehow my man Antonio Pierce works some magic and get Jaden Daniels out of Las Vegas, but that's another conversation. But I'm forced to believe that Drake May will be the next Chicago Bear quarterback. I understand that the superstar picks are Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. But I've never seen, in all the years I've been watching the National Football League, the league stack the deck for a black quarterback. When you got two Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers, you got a solid tight end, you got a coach who only knows how to coach one kind of athlete, you got running game. This makes the game real easy for the quarterback, whether he's a rookie or he's a 10, 15, 20, 30-year vet. I've never seen the league do that. You can't show me an instance in which you had a black quarterback on a consistent basis with a whole lot of talent around him. And you got a 1 or 2 situation. Warren Moon up in Minnesota. You had the year that Steve McNair won league MVP, but then they immediately traded his guy away. I mean, these are situations that, hey, look, call it racial if you want to. I'm just telling you what I see. I believe Drake May will be the next Chicago Bear quarterback. I do believe they will trade down. Caleb Williams does not want to play in Chicago, much like when Mr. Williams, he's playing the role of, what's his name, Manning, the one who played in the league. Eli Manning's father, Archie Manning. Archie Manning did everything he could to keep Eli out of San Diego because San Diego was known for running quarterbacks at that point. They eventually drafted that same year. They drafted Phillip Rivers. Turned out well in regards to wins and losses. They didn't get a championship, but Phillip Rivers was a more than adequate quarterback for a very long time in San Diego. Now they're in Los Angeles. But at the end of the day, Mr. Williams is doing everything he can to keep his son out of Chicago. And I don't really blame him. The Chicago Bears have never been a place where quarterbacks came and flourished. I'm 53 years old. I haven't seen it. Jim McMahon is the closest thing to drafting a quarterback, developing him into a more than adequate quarterback and winning. He's the closest thing you can get to it. When you look at statistically, it's a sorry situation when Red Grange is your best quarterback and second best quarterback in league in your team's history. And the number one quarterback in your team history is Jay Cutler. This is why I truly believe Drake May will be the next Chicago Bear quarterback. The whole world is saying Jaden Daniels. The whole world is saying Caleb Williams. But the Chicago Bears have consistently done the polar opposite of what the world has said. The world told the Bears, get my man Randy Moss. They drafted Dun, 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 dun. Cade McNown. He told him, get my man. Now that you didn't get Randy Moss, get Dante Culpepper. Dun, 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 dun. They draft Curtis Enos. Neither one of those dudes lasted to their second contract. So look, Drake May, get used to Chicago. You can get mad at me. You can hate on me. I'll get a whole lot of texts after this. I don't have to answer. I don't really have to answer for one person and my children. But so there it is. But I do believe the Chicago Bears are going to piss everybody off and draft this Rudy Poole called Drake Daniels. He is right after image. Look, Mac Brown is a solid coach. He's a very good coach. He's won a national championship. He had Texas on fire for a little while. They fell off a little bit. They fired him. He disappeared. He came back and put North Carolina football back on the map. I'm not saying Mac Brown's not a good coach, and I'm not going to punish this kid, Drake May, because Mitchell Trubisky sucked in the National Football League. I'm not just because you went to a school that I went to and you stunk, and that don't mean you're going to stink. But what I will say is this: the history of this team, the history of this town, I do believe they're trying to build a new stadium, and all I'm going to say is this. Do you really believe that they're going to let this brother, they're going to let two brothers run the team and then put a brother as the face of the Chicago Bears? After seeing the interaction with the combine between Caleb and Keenan and Poles and Eberflus, he's going number one. I hope you're right. That's my man, Big Illinois. That's my man, Big Illinois. I got my man, Jungle Brother, and I got my man, D-Great in the chat room. If you want to come in and comment, add something to it, please do. I'm not sure. I hope I'm wrong. This is one of those situations. I hope I'm wrong because even though I'm not the world's biggest Bear fan, I'm a fan of my last name. If Caleb Williams, that might be the first time I ever purchased a jersey because if my name ain't on the jersey, I ain't gonna wear it. I'm not wearing your name on my back. I'm sorry. My daddy's blood is on his name. Brian Williams is my name, and that's what it is. But with that being said, I do believe that's what's going on because I'm gonna keep it funky. The National Football League is making a concerted effort at making white quarterbacks relevant again. A lot, now that the black quarterback has broken through, and we've proven time and time again, multiple time MVP, Lamar Jackson, MVP, Steve McNair should have been league MVP, should be a Hall of Famer, Donovan McNabb from right here in Chicago, Illinois. And we can go chapter, book, and verse, Michael Vick, and it's 1.5 million NFL. NFL black quarterbacks. The black quarterback is not an anomaly anymore. We're taking over. Anytime you open the door, you let us in. If we're even, we're leaving. Black quarterbacks are taking over the league, and I do believe they're making a concerted effort instead of competing. As most times, they don't make a concerted effort at compete. What they do is make the let a playing field unlevel. I do believe that they're making sure we're not there. We got one in Dallas. We got one in Baltimore. I will be shocked. I'm just keeping it funky. You can't tell me. And for those who sit back going, man, see, H-Rap, you just sticking up for the black quarterback. You're on the pro-black thing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, explain to me when in the history of the National Football League that you had a 32-year-old football player coming off a Achilles injury and he gets a 4-year extension. I'm sure everybody who's listening to this is saying, oh, that don't happen. You know why that don't happen? Because they say when you're 32 in football, you're too old. If you're 32 old at 32 in football at a skill position, what would you say to a dude who's 36 years old, who's going to be 40 at the end of a contract with a $180 million contract and $100 million guaranteed? A year ago, 365 days ago, 365 days ago, 1 year ago, one calendar year, we had a one-time league MVP, multiple-time playoffs, coach saving quarterback in Baltimore, and the very dude, Arthur Blank, who owns the Atlanta Falcons. So Falcon fans, guess what? Every time you go to a game, you're screwing yourself because Arthur Blank is a creep. But that's just my opinion. But Arthur Blank told the whole world, no, I'm not going to trade for Lamar Jackson. We're going to go into another direction because he might get hurt if we invest all that money into him. And what do you do a year later? You invest a little less money because my man Lamar got $230 million. You gave this dude $180 million. And guess what? He's coming off an Achilles injury. The same Achilles injury that every time somebody gets it, they say his career may be over. Remember about 9 months ago when Aaron Rodgers got that Achilles injury and everybody said he's old. This might be the end of his career. a dude gets that same Achilles injury in the National Football League who's less accomplished. He's a borderline, he's a 50-50 quarterback. And what do? You give him $180 million, 100 guaranteed. Mm. You get Faker Willfeld down there in Tampa, $50 million guaranteed. Mm. See, this is why I believe what I believe. You don't have to agree with me. And then guess what? If we come back in 6 months, 8 months, a year, and Kirk Cousins has sold his soul to the devil, he's a Christian, so I doubt if he do it. But that's the only way he's gonna win the Super Bowl. If he sold his soul to the devil and he win the Super Bowl, then I'm wrong. But all I know is this: it's a whole lot of fishy signings. You get the Raiders signing my man, the dude who got cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got cut by the Indianapolis Colts, and now he got a deal with the Raiders. You got a bunch of quarterbacks who are substandard. You got one of the best. Now all of a sudden I'm hearing conversation about Bo Nix. 5-year starter Bo Nix. He may be drafted number 12 by the Denver Broncos. That's what Mel Kiper Jr. said. Because according to Sean Payton, he sees a lot of Drew Brees and Bo Nix. And then they even tried to say, well, see, the reason he likes Bo Nix is because he sees a lot of Drew Brees. Well, he got a soft arm. Drew Brees had a soft arm. He in Denver, Drew Brees had to play in the dome. And then it stops right there. Because Bo Nix stunk it up in Auburn, and then he went up in the Great Northwest, and he had a solid last season in football, super senior year in football. That's cool. But trust me, I don't see it. And they tried to tell me this. Well, Sean Payton comes from the Bill Parcells tree of coaching. And the Bill Parcells tree of coaches says experience is king. So if you got a lot of experience, then we want you on our team. That's almost laughable because Bo Nix just happened to have more stars than anybody in NCAA history. And he still is questionable. So, look, Bill Parcells is one of the greatest Italian evaluators in the history of the game. Sean Payton is a world-class jerk, and he came up under Bill Parcells. But guess what? My mother was a great baker. That does not mean I could make you a birthday cake. Just because I came up, I can cook, but I can't make you a cake and I can't make you a sweet potato pie. My mother made both of them excellently. So the point is, just because you came up under Bill Parcells does not mean you know how to evaluate talent. What I do know is I think you a clown, and I think you ran Russ out of town ceremonially, and I think you need to be fired because you're going to crash and burn. I was actually one of those buffoons who assumed that you were going to do right by Russ. But once you start dissing him before you even sat down and had a conversation with him, I knew that was a poor move for Russ. And then now they got all this nonsense and propaganda around Russ. Interesting. Speaking of Russ signed with one of the greatest organizations in the history of the game. That is a team by the name of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers is one of the most well-run organizations in the history of the game. In my entire life, they've had 3 coaches. They've never fired a coach in my life. That is more. They hired a guy by the name of Chuck Noll in '68, 2 years before I got here. And since 1968, you've had 2 coaches retire, and they have the great Mike Tomlin is structuring this organization. This is why I sent out a text to a couple of homies earlier this week saying Justin Fields is going to be the next Steve Young. If you don't see the parallels between Justin Fields and Steve Young, allow me to introduce you to them. Steve Young had a solid career in the USFL. He was able to use his talents with his legs. He was able to use his talent with his arm out of BYU. I am not a Steve Young fan. He might be the only left-hand athlete in the history of the world that I don't rock with. But what does that mean? I don't have to like you for you to be good. But Steve Young came to the NFL, and his draft rights belonged to, at that time, the worst team in the history of the world, the Tampa Bay. At that time, they would call them the Yuccaneers. They had very little talent around him. They had a poor offensive line, and they had very poor coaching. He then, at the time, Bill Walsh, who's known as an offensive genius, was traded. He traded for Steve Young, and everybody thought he had lost his mind. He put him under his tutelage for a couple of years, and he was supposed to be the predecessor to one Joe Montana. Joe Montana breaks his back, literally breaks the bone in his back, misses 8 weeks. Steve Young played so well, Joe came back early and won the Super Bowl. Everybody at that point said Steve Young is chomping at the bit. Some guy, I don't know who this guy is. He says Steve Young is one of the GOATs. I was gonna say another word instead of greatest, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. Uh, Steve Young is a GOAT. Yeah, he is a GOAT because the Joe Montana gave him a red hot Ferrari and he stalled it out for 3 consecutive years until they got the whole Pro Bowl team and put him in San Francisco. But we ain't gonna get into that. You're a 49er fan. Let me see. Homer alert. Yeah, he is. You know what? He is top 3 quarterbacks in San Francisco 49 history. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Yep, Montana. Yeah, yeah. We're not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna humor you with this nonsense, Mister Mo. But on the serious side, yeah, man. But once Steve Young was around structure, he was around other offensive talent. He was around great coaches, George Seifert, Bill Parson, Bill Walsh, George Seifert, Bill Walsh, Brock Purdy. uh, Once he was around George Seifert, once he was around Ray Rhodes, once he was around people like Mike Holmgren, people like Andy Reid, people like John Gruden, these people were part of that staff. He was groomed into a 2-time league MVP, 1-time Super Bowl champion, multiple time NFC championship player. The same thing, and he played behind arguably the greatest quarterback in the history of the league, which is Joe Montana, in my personal opinion. I'm not saying that Russell Wilson is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league. I'm not saying that, but I do believe Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. Period. End of sentence. But the good thing is this, and y'all might think I'm going a little too far, but I'm going to rest on Russell's Christian faith. What does that have to do with football? But see, the difference in Russ and most quarterbacks in the history of the league is this. Russ is immersed in his faith. His faith tells him, even though you're competing with this young man, that young man is under your tutelage. And he's a proud brother who comes from a strong family of Black civil rights activists. So I'm going to look at Russ as an adult Christian man and say, hey, he's going to put young Justin on this wing, and you got Mr. Tomlin, my favorite coach in the history of the league. You got Mike Tomlin, and he's going to put him up on this wing. He got him and Russ up under that wing, and they're going to use that Pittsburgh still a talent machine, that the talent development team, the talent evaluation machine, and Mike Tomlin's coaching along with good people around him. And I do believe if you sit Justin down and you got some like a good person like a Russell Wilson, and you got a great coach like a Mike Tomlin, and you got that Pittsburgh Steelers machine, it would be a carbon copy of what happened in San Francisco. That's just what I believe. I'm a firm believer in quarterbacks should sit and watch and wait and see how it's done before they're pushed out in front of the world. If you look at the league right now, every team that is successful regularly, their quarterback sat down and watched. Aaron Rodgers is considered the greatest quarterback active outside of Patrick Mahomes. What did he do? He sat down a few years and watched. The kid who took Aaron's spot, he sat and watched Aaron, and look what happened. Mr. Mahomes sat down 15 games. He only started one game his rookie year, and that was the last game of the season. Watching helps when you're dealing with something that's fast as the National Football League, as physical as the National Football League, and it's high with high intensity like the National Football League. Our young brother Justin didn't get that opportunity. He was thrust into a pile of madness. Very poor offensive line, very little talent around him, and very poor coaching. When you have very little talent, very poor coaching, and you're a rookie, you are almost doomed. So much like 40 some odd years ago, it was a guy by the name of Jim Plunkett. He was put in Oakland. He sat on the bench with Oakland. He had 8-9 years in the league at that point. They told Jim, sit down, we'll be cool. When he finally started, not Vince Ferragamo, I can't think his name, but I'll think of it in a second. He got injured. Jim Plunkett stood up, took the Raiders to the Super Bowl, beat the Philadelphia Eagles 1981. 2 years later, Marcus Allen takes over the league. Jim Plunkett is the quarterback. He wins his second Super Bowl. Trust me, I do believe Russ will be that dude. Okay, whoever that is in the Facebook side said, I agree. Thank you for agreeing. Obviously, you're an insanely intelligent person. You agree with me because I'm the smartest dude in the world. Y'all didn't think that though, but I am. I really am. When we take the distance between the moon and the sun, nah, you won't know that. That's why I ain't gonna tell you. But seriously, look, I do believe this is one of the greatest moves that the Pittsburgh. This is another great move by the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the best move for Russell Wilson. But guess what? I'm gonna bend back and hit you with the Bears situation. I'm gonna hit you with the Bears situation. My man Big P was good. Hit you with the Bears situation. Even though I do believe they're gonna draft Drake May. I'm not gonna tell you I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong. I do believe they're gonna draft Drake May, but with the job that my man Poles is doing, it was brought to my attention that at this point they $30 million under the cap. They got Allen, they got Moore, they got a ninth pick who I believe they're gonna get that kid out of Florida State. They getting pieces, they adding pieces to the puzzle. They got draft picks, they getting a whole lot of things going, and this is what I'm starting to believe. This move was by this move brought a lot of cachet for the Chicago Bears. They don't have a reputation of spending money. They don't have a reputation of treating their players well. But I do believe this may buy cachet because Chicago is one of the most intriguing cities in the United States of America. If you're a Chicago Bear, if you want to be in Chicago, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the summer. Even though we got frigid weather, it's a whole lot to do. The city does not shut down. One of the greatest sidelines, some of the greatest hotels, some of the greatest restaurants, some of the greatest people. And I'm not saying that as a Chicago. I'm just saying I've done a whole lot of traveling, and Chicago's a beautiful, wonderful city. And if the Chicago Bears have done right by a player in free agency in this era of no loyalty, Mr. Poles may have done the Bears the greatest favor in the world by, even though he got less compensation than he wanted, still put Justin Fields in a good position. There are agents all around the league that may be looking at Mr. Poles going, you know what? We might have to check out the Bears, and then they'll be dumb enough. Yeah, y'all fans be tricking people and they're taking the hometown discount. I'm not giving a millionaire, I'm not giving a billionaire a discount, but y'all be tricking players into that, and y'all got this culture, hometown discount, saving you, win a ring, and they be falling for that. But since they be falling for that foolishness, yeah, Mr. Poles, shout out to you, man, for doing right by that good brother. And all I'm saying is you may have done the Chicago Bears and yourself a favor. Now, here's another thing in regards to that. If I'm right and Mr. May stands out, let's just say it's like the worst pick in the world. Here's another beautiful situation. You still got Prime Son next year, and you got the kid out of Florida State coming out next year as well. So it's still a future for the Bears if these dudes staying out. Big ups to the Bears. All I'm saying is it's an interesting conversation to have. So we may as well have it. Next up, the National Basketball Association. Exactly right. Let me say, my girl Wanda said he did right by Justin. See, Wanda's a Kansas City Chief fan. I shouldn't even be putting up statements on the screen because she a Kansas City Chief fan and we mortal enemies. But she good people, so I'm gonna let her comment stand, even though she a Chief fan. Look at her. Yeah, I'm hating on Wanda. Your team won again. Your team beat my team again. You lucky you my girls. I have to say something bad about your team. I ain't gonna hate on your team. I ain't gonna hate on you because you said they did right by Justice. So I ain't gonna hate on you. But just understand, you Kansas City Chief person. But I'm just tripping. That's my girl Wanda. We go way back. We go way back like big seats in the Cadillac. But that's what I'm saying, man. The Bears may have finally done some. Yeah, it's all love. Exactly, man. It's all love. It's all love. But the Chicago Bears finally may have done something right. They may have curried favor with agents and players league-wide. So hopefully they have. And if they haven't, then they're going to go back to being the Bears, picking retards and stinking. And then people in my city, yeah, we're going to win next year. Next year has been coming since 1985. But we're going to win next year, right? Right? That's what it is. Now, I'm going to move over to the National Basketball Association. National Basketball Association is coming to an end. And this is going to be an interesting trip to the end of the season. We got teams that came out of nowhere. Oklahoma City Thunder is at the top of the Western Conference. Y'all told me the Western Conference is the best conference. You also have at the top of the Western Conference the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is why I believe we need to redo and rethink the league MVP situation. Now, the league MVP situation has always gone to a team that is the dude on the team that is winning and dominating, and he's controlling the league. Everybody's saying my man Joker is at the top of the list. I got two kids. The kid out of Oklahoma City, out of Canada, Shea Gilchrist. I think him and Anthony Edwards should be at the top of the MVP list. Look, Joker's doing the same thing he's doing. They're the world champions. I don't think he's the most valuable player this year. They got a brick around him. They added DeAndre Jordan. They added a bunch of other pieces. You got the big light-skinned buddy with the three-point shot from Missouri. I ain't gonna say his name because I don't like him. He big 6'10" dude shooting threes. I hate that dude. But on the serious side, they're just doing what champions do. To me, the most valuable player is the guy who has the greatest impact on his team and changes the complexion of a team. Shea is doing that at Oklahoma City. Nobody saw the Oklahoma City Thunder at the top of the Western Conference or at the top of anything this year. They were supposed to be a middle-of-the-road team, struggling to get into the playoffs and making moves. They are not doing that. They're dominating. They're winning on a regular basis. They're the number one seed as of this very moment. They're the number one seed in the Western Conference. Another dude who has the attitude, who has the mentality, who has the cachet, he has the highlights, and he has the Minnesota Timberwolves one game out of the top of the conference, and he goes by the name of Anthony Edwards. They call him Ant-Man. This dude got the bounce. He hitting big-time shots. He blocking shots. He's doing exactly what one Michael Jeffrey Jordan did 40 years ago this summer. He came out of nowhere. Of course, we knew who Mike was. He had won the ACC Player of the Year. He had won the Naismith Player of the Year, and he had choked against Dan Dockich in the national championship. I mean, not Final Four. Y'all forgot that. Don't nobody remember that Mike choked his way out the NCAA, but we'll talk about that later. But Anthony Edwards could be the next Michael Jordan, but the National Basketball League is stuck in this archaic thinking, saying that you have to be in New York, you have to be in Chicago, you have to be in LA, and maybe even Miami to get the spotlight put on you. The world is much bigger now. Let y'all man know, what's his name, Mr. Burns, know that it's time to put that spotlight league-wide. Let Anthony Edwards win National Basketball Association League MVP. This dude is dominating the league, and he's put one of your smallest, ain't really no small markets anymore. The internet has made every market big as possible because we can see anybody that we want to see, and you have the league packages, so we watch what we want to watch now. But I do believe Anthony Edwards has the cachet, he has the charisma, he has the ability, the athletic ability. He's putting highlights on TV every night. He's hitting game winners, game shot blockers. He's going to be all NBA first team. This dude needs to be league MVP. Look, he's not cookie cutter. He's not the warm and fuzzy and cuddly dude. And I understand what y'all trying to do, Adam Silver. Y'all are trying not to make another Allen Iverson. Sorry. This dude has that type of cachet. Y'all need to be putting this dude on every commercial, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, car dealerships, everything that you can do, because this dude is not going to disappear. Only thing that's going to stop him is an injury. God, Lord willing, that never happens. Anthony Edwards is one of the greatest young ball players in the league. He has that Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan intensity. He has that Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan athleticism. He has charisma. He looks like he's enjoying the game. And guess what? He actually is playing basketball. He's not taking 50 million three-pointers. He's playing defense. He's doing everything a two-way player and an offensive juggernaut should do. He's not just relying on the three-point shot, and he's not going to just fade out when the three ain't working. He hit the mid-range. He put people in the post. He's taking people off the dribble. This is a great young man to watch. He made me watch some games this year, and I all but hate the National Basketball Association. The only reason I do it because I'll start watching basketball again because I come on here and talk every week. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about basketball because it's lousy, it's boring, and I don't want to see it. Now, what I will do is this. I'm going to talk about the standings. And in the standings, like I said, in the Western Conference, you got the Oklahoma City Thunder at the top. You have the Denver Nuggets next, and you have the Minnesota Timberwolves. The teams that nobody talking about is this. The Sacramento Kings, who I believe are going to shock the world. And I believe the Clippers, with my man Tyronn Lue, I think they could shock the world. Nobody's talking about them. They sneaking up on people. You got Russ. You got Paul George. Look, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna change my. Train of thought. Is that in regards to this? I'm gonna talk about Paul George. Paul George, he nicknamed himself Playoff P. He has had a tough run of it over the last few years. But let's not forget, man, Paul George used to be an absolute monster in the National Basketball Association. Nobody talks about the fact that this dude almost broke his leg in half, and he's coming back at an NBA All-Star level. And if they fool around and bring the Clippers their first National Basketball Association championship, Paul George is going into the Hall of Fame. I think he should be a Hall of Famer anyway. But Paul George gets very little respect. Let's not forget them years in Miami. Paul George used to look LeBron James in the eye. What do we commend LeBron James for? For being able to rebound. Paul was rebounding, being able to handle the ball. That's what Paul was doing. Being able to take you out of the dribble. That's what Paul was doing. Defend. That's what Paul was doing. Hitting big shots. That's what Paul was doing. Remember, the Indiana Pacers were taking the Heat to the edge every year. The dude broke his leg and he lost some of his athleticism. A lot of that athleticism has returned with his health. This dude is hitting big shots, D'ing up. We need to, as they say, we need to put some respect on Paul George's name. But back to the Clippers. The Clippers are 42-25. Kawhi Leonard is playing games. The Clippers are playing games. Tyronn Lue is a very good coach. I think people are overlooking the fact that these dudes are coming and they are not playing. This dude pockets are much deeper than the Lakers. If they play their cards right, the Clippers could put some of that Laker fanfare on hold. Lakers not gonna win anything anytime soon. You got an aged LeBron James. He's a legend. He's arguably the best player in the history of the league. Depending on who you like Mike, you like Kobe, you like LeBron, you like Kareem, whatever. He's in the conversation. He's one of the greatest ball players we ever seen, but he's 40 years old. Anthony Davis is a guard that grew. He's a guard that grew half a foot over the summer. This is why he does not dominate in the paint. This is why he's not the guy who's taking over the league the way y'all want him to, because he's a guard. He grew over between his junior and senior year here in Chicago, Illinois. He went from a 5'10" point guard to a 7-foot dude. That's a foot. He grew a foot. So look, at the end of the day, Anthony Davis didn't learn how to play. That's the style of basketball y'all asking him to play. He needs to get a coach who's going to coach him and not the system. Look, and either that or my man LeBron James need to take a step back and let that dude flourish, or coach him into, be the big brother and coach him into it. Anthony Davis is not the dude y'all think he is. So Lakers, y'all either going to have to get another star, or y'all going to have to understand that y'all not going to win anything until y'all get somebody else to play with LeBron and Anthony. LeBron looks like he's going to play another 1, maybe 2 or 3 years. He can play at a solid level, but look, that's what it is. Back to the Western Conference, but I do believe the teams to beat are the Oklahoma Thunder. The Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers. Those are the teams. Now the other teams, they may put some pressure on other teams, but when it comes down to it, experience is king. Experience and coaching is king. Denver has great coaching. They have experience. Tyronn Lue has coaching chops. He has experience with Kawhi Leonard. He has experience with Paul George. They have continuity. They have energy with Russell off the bench. I do believe it will be at some point the Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. Hopefully, Tyronn Lue wins another one. That way, everybody won't be saying the only reason he won is because LeBron got one. The dude could coach his ass off. Look, like I said, put some respect on his name. The dude is a good coach. He's doing the damn thing. Knock it off. If you don't want to give him respect, I understand. But Tyronn Lue has earned the respect that you don't want to give him. But look, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to keep it moving. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk about the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, I don't think they have a snowball's chance of fish grease or win anything in this National Football League this year. I just don't. I don't see it. I do not see it. They are 2 3-point heavy. They don't have anything to do once you slow it down. If you slow it down to a snail's pace, the Eastern Conference will continue to fold. That's it. That's just the way I see it. Look, they keep trying to instead of letting the dude Anthony Edwards be the face of the league, they want Jason Tatum. Look, the ladies love Jason. They say he's a handsome young man. The dude's a scoring machine. He hits big shots. He has more 50-point games than Larry Joe Bird. He has the resume. He has a resume that's impeccable. The one thing he don't have, in my personal opinion, is the eye of the tiger. Look, when you 6'10", 7 feet tall, and you're not putting the ball on the floor and dominating from that perspective, I have to question it. You can tell me he's great, but I don't see greatness. I see very goodness. I don't see greatness. The one good thing that's saving the Celtics is they do have Porzingis. They do have my man out of Milwaukee. Uh, they have a myriad of talent on this team. It's a bunch of kids out there that's playing. You have a mixture of old and new, and the coach has learned. It looks as if the coach has learned from the mistakes that he's made in the past. He was a one-year coach last year. He replaced Emil Doka. The Celtics look good, but I just don't see it. I really don't see it. And then you have Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks. They haven't had enough time together. I think Doc Rivers is in a bad situation. Doc Rivers is in a situation taking over a team that Giannis Antetokounmpo got the coach fired. He didn't know he was going to get fired. You must didn't know he was going to get fired the day he got fired, but you had to go to the brass of the Milwaukee Bucks and say you wanted that dude up out of there. That's the only way you get Adrian Griffin fired. Adrian Griffin he had a winning record. He was on his way to coaching the All-Star team, and all of a sudden he gets fired. This is a lose-lose situation for Doc Rivers because people keep reminding us of the fact that Doc Rivers has never. He's the one who's losing 3-1 leads. Well, guess what? Let's analyze that. Doc Rivers, he lost a 3-1 lead to the Detroit Pistons. That's the first one he lost. Lost a 3-1 lead to the Detroit Pistons. Well, y'all told me that Tracy McGrady is a Hall of Famer. He got the yellow jacket or whatever color jacket they give you in the NBA. He one of the most terrorizing scorers in the history of the game. Well, just like let's look at Tracy McGrady the way y'all look at LeBron James. You know, when LeBron James does something wrong or something that's not up to par, the first thing y'all say is Jordan would have never done that. Kobe would have never done that. Well, it's safe to say that Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan was up 3-1 against any team in league history. That team is dust that day. If they have to score 100 that night, Kobe and Mike would have scored 100. I doubt if LeBron James could go down up 3-1 on the team. As a matter of fact, LeBron James went down 3-1 on the team and came back and won. So is it the coach or is it the player? If you were good enough to get up 3-1, then your superstar, i.e. Tracy McGrady, should have pushed you over the top. And then it's always somebody in the back saying, well, how you going to diss Tracy McGrady? You trying to say, no, yeah, I'm trying to say that. I'm trying to say if we're going to grade LeBron for what he did in Miami against the Dallas Mavericks, we're going to keep Tracy that same grade because I don't hear nobody saying Eric Spoelstra choked. LeBron choked. So if Tracy, you were up 3-1 and you choked and your team didn't win, I'm sorry. It's your fault. You take Doc Rivers out there to the Clippers. The Clippers had a bunch of number 2 men. Chris Paul is a number 2 man. Blake Griffin is a number 3 man. He ain't even number 2. And then you had a bunch of guys like Matt Barnes and others on that team. They had no go-to man. He was up. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, they choked again. Since Chris Paul and Blake Griffin left Doc Rivers, they have not flourished. Tracy McGrady, again, played an entire career without Doc Rivers, never flourished. So is it Doc Rivers, or am I putting you in the best possible situation, getting you these leads, and then you choke? I don't understand. If we're going to put it on LeBron, we're going to compare it to Mike and Kobe, let's compare everybody to Mike and Kobe. If Mike and Kobe are the standards, and if you're a superstar, you don't meet the standard, then you get pushed down too, correct? I mean, it's just basic conversation. So back then you go up to Boston. When Doc got adequate talent, he messed around and won an NBA championship. And when Kendrick Perkins got hurt and that let Paul Gasol do his thing in the post, guess what? The Lakers won. Doc Rivers didn't choke then. Then you got LeBron turn into LeBron against the Celtics. Again, is that Doc's fault, or is it the X's and the O's, or it's the Willies and the Joes? So in this instance, I do believe Doc Rivers. I'm not saying he the greatest coach in the world. I'm just saying, is he getting too much blame and players not getting enough blame, or vice versa? We'll never know, but we will see this year. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks have what it takes. I do believe the Boston Celtics will face either the Nuggets or the Clippers in the NBA Finals, and that's just how it is. Now, we're going to talk about my favorite time of the year, and we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about is the NCAA tournament. I know my girl Wanda's still in here. Her UNC, the top seeds in the NCAA tournament: UNC Tar Heels, the Houston Cougars, the and the Yukon Huskies, and the Purdue or the Purdue Boilermakers, because they've been stinking lately. Purdue is not looking like a world championship team at all at this point. I think they got in on reputation alone. They got in on reputation alone. I do believe this Jay Wright, two-time national championship coach, he more than likely gonna make it to the Hall of Fame. Olympians, assistant coach, this dude knows his thing. He said this is the beginning of the end of the Blue Bloods. I don't know about that, Jay, because the Blue Bloods have won 23 of the last, 13 of the last 23 national championships. So it's hard to say it's over for them, but I do believe it is. The playing field is becoming level. See, we look at places like UNC, we look at places like UConn, we look at places like the schools in the Big Ten, whether they be Michigan, Purdue, Indiana, and we look at their endowment and see that they have a whole lot of money. And we look at Big Ten contracts and Big East contracts by ESPN and the Big Ten Conference and Big Ten TV, and we see how much money they're generating. But much like Notre Dame, a lot of these institutions are starting to have boosters who are putting money in these kids' pockets because it's legal now. It's legal now. So you might have a school like Wagner with a whole lot of heavy hitters that we don't know of, a bunch of these rich old white people who want to put money into these kids' pockets. And you're going to, instead of getting $50 handshake, $100 handshake, you can get $50,000 handshake. Then you have people like the guy, Boone Pickens, Boone Pickens on Oklahoma State, putting $1 billion of his own money into a college football stadium. There's going to be a lot of that going around. So you're going to start to see the playing field will be leveled out. UNC is not going to be the only team that's going to get stars. All you have to do is look at the fact that there's a bunch of dudes like Will Wade. Will Wade is proof positive. He got fired at LSU for giving kids money, and now he's I think he's at Tulane. He's kicking butt, taking names. His team was a little bit above 500 before he was able to coach, and they went 21-1 after he was allowed to coach full time without any suspensions. This dude is setting himself up to get the Louisville job. He's setting himself up to get any one of these jobs where a coach is slipping. But this dude he's at McNeese State. I'm sorry, he's at McNeese State. He's at McNeese State. The most famous dude from McNeese State is Joe Dumars. I'm not saying Joe Dumars has those type of deep pockets, but these dudes in these colleges in the background, they're billionaires, and they want their school to win too. So these young people will start getting money put in their pockets. So when you at UNC, when you at UConn, when you at Illinois, when you at UCLA, and you watching, you're going to enter the transfer portal, and one of these old rich white dudes are going to pay you to come to their school, and it's going to level the playing field. If that's what Jay Wright meant, and I agree with you, Mr. Wright, this blue blood thing is about to come to it's going to come to a screeching halt. With that being said, I do believe it's a bunch of schools in this tournament that have a solid chance of knocking off some of the people. Look, UNC, they got a tough road. The UNC Tar Heels got a tough road. When they beat Wagner, which I do predict them beating Wagner, they're going to have to either go with Mississippi State or Michigan State. Both those teams are difficult to beat. Now, if they get past that, then you got schools like Grand Canyon, you got Alabama, you got Clemson coming. I believe Clemson is going to lose to New Mexico State, personally. This is going to be a very interesting tournament because a lot of people haven't been watching because we don't have all those names. And people like CBS, ABC, ESPN, they haven't been pushing it out in front of us because you got a lot of one and dones. Note to the program directors at NBC, ABC, CBS, and ESPN, start putting the smaller schools on TV for times like this. So we've seen this guy from McNeese State, this guy from New Mexico. By the way, I keep saying New Mexico because Jamal Masper Jr. and Eddie House's son played there. That's why I pay attention to them, because those are two of my favorite players. When you start putting these smaller schools on TV, what you do is attract fans to those teams. And when you put eyes on those teams, we'll be watching in a tournament to look for those teams. If you're old enough to remember, well, nobody paying attention to Georgetown, Syracuse, Boston College, St. John's before the early 80s. You know why? Because that's when ESPN took over the landscape. And ESPN created Big Monday. And when they created Big Monday, they put them on TV and they told us to watch and we watched and we enjoyed the games. So why don't you got clowns at ABC, CBS, TNT, and the rest of these institutions put some of these good small schools against some of their rivals and have those crowds rocking, get us into it just like you did the Big East, and then bam, bam. I'm getting to that in a second, my man. I'll get to that. My man D Ray said the women's tournament is going to be on fire, most definitely. But the men's tournament is going to be good. The men's tournament is going to be good as well. It's just you don't know the players that you're going to be seeing, but a lot of these players are on fire as well. They just don't have all the big names. There are no Ralph Sampsons. There are no Michael George. There are no Keith Smarts. There are no Derek Colbins. There are no Larry Johnsons. There are no hell Shaq, Jamie Brandon, Grant Hill, and the rest of these guys. No Quentin Richardsons. They don't have those guys, but these guys are equally talented. They're going to be insanely fun to watch. That's the beauty in this. It's one and done. Either you win or you go home. Anytime you're in a situation like that, there's going to be some great basketball. And as I said, when you guys first met me a few years ago, the beauty in this is this. The beauty in this is this. You can be a super talented 18-year-old man. You can be jumping out of the gym and you can dominate throughout high school and you can go into your conference and dominate. But when you start playing against some of these schools like the McNeese State, like the New Mexicos, like the Gonzagas, where you're going to be playing against grown men who have been in the system for 3 and 4 years. They're 22, 23 years old. They're 19 years. 20, 21, 22 years old. They've been in the system 2 to 4 years. Some of them even 5. They got grown man strength. They know their players. They know their teammates. It's harder to beat those teams. You disagree? All you have to do is ask, how many championships did Coach Calipari win with all those one and dones? John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Derrick Rose, and the rest of those dudes. He didn't win, but won. He won one. He put about 18 dudes in a 4-year period into the NBA, but he only won one championship. So all you have to do is look at the situation and understand men versus boys, men are going to win every time. Look at UVA. When UVA won, they had a team full of sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and redshirt players. This is what's going to happen in this tournament this week. It's going to be interesting. Don't play yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself. Now, when you're talking about my man D Gray, he just mentioned the NCAA tournament, and he said it's going to be on fire for women. The women have made college basketball fun again. And it goes back to what I just said. These young ladies, first and foremost, these are some of the most athletically gifted young women in the history of the game. My girl Juju out there, USC, she looks like a woman version of Kyrie Irving. Juju is playing no games. Anytime you got a woman who can run top speed, handle the ball through her legs, behind her back, she's one of the only players I've seen, man or woman, that's moving at top speed, and as she has a second gear, she can slow down, speed up, she adjusts with the ball, she handles the ball. She looks like Kyrie Irving or Jason Kidd. This woman can score 20 and win, and if you need her to score 50, they're gonna win. A lot of people talk about Caitlin Clark, but this is raw dog talent at its finest. I used to see her on YouTube last year. This is one of the best ball players I've ever seen. Look, y'all, a lot of men don't pay attention to these women because y'all don't understand they not dunking. This lets me know the whole lot of y'all are not real sports fans. Y'all are highlight watchers. Juju is what it is. Then you got sister down there, Flase Reese, and that Trump supporting coach they got at LSU. It's real hard for me to root for them simply because I know who Falky is. I know who she is. If you've not been watching sports for years, I remember her when she was a ball player. She was a clown then. She's still a clown. And just look at the clothes she wears. She's even a bigger clown. But it's hard to root against Angel Reese and Flase and those people. I like Flase's music. I like Angel Reese's swag. But look, at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting. Then, look, the standard is the standard. To quote my man Mike Tomlin, the standard is the standard. You got the girl out of Iowa, Caitlin Clark. She's a scorer. She's a ball player. Oh man, she the white girl, they overhyping. Yeah, you can miss me with that nonsense. I'm a sports fan. I don't care if you're green. If you got game, you got game. She out here hooping. She making it exciting. Look, again, the girls at UGA killing it. I'm just here to tell y'all, man. Kansas State is killing it. Look, Kansas State killed it against Iowa twice. Twice. Look, the ladies are playing basketball unbelievably, and y'all already know. Juju Watkins, exactly. Juju Watkins is not playing any games. And then, look, my personal favorite, this is actually the woman who made me start watching ladies basketball. Dawn Staley, when she was at UVA, out of Philadelphia. She never won the big game. Her teams were never good enough. She was the smallest person on the court. She was killing it all the time. She made me folks. Yeah, I used to watch a little Cheryl Swoops. I mean, no, she actually older than Cheryl. Cheryl Swoops about the same age. But I used to watch a little Cheryl Miller. I used to watch the girls at UCLA. They have them on sparingly in the midst of the tournaments. It was cool, and I was digging it. But Dawn Staley is my very first ladies basketball fan. That's why the girls at South Carolina, the ladies at South Carolina, I'm not gonna call them girls, those grown women. I got daughter older than them young ladies. But look, if you really want to see some real live, real deal women's basketball, pre-Olympics, you need to be watching this NCAA tournament. Don't cheat yourself with the men. Don't say, oh man, it's the men. But here's the thing. This is how you know that the University of South Carolina is the real deal. Last year, they dominated all of college basketball. Only way you can beat them if they beat themselves. They slow down. They speed up. They put it in the post. They got a 6'8" young lady out of Columbia. That's a young lady that knocked down Flage, and her brother jumped into the stands and instantly went to hold my back mode because he ain't even swinging. I ain't telling him to swing on a woman, but you ain't doing that. You jumped into the crowd. You jumped on the court to go to jail. But look, these ladies are hooping slow, fast. They hit. Look, last year they was only hitting 3 threes a game. Do you understand that their 3-point percentage went up 10 points, and now they hit 6 threes a game? So they're shooting better. They playing more efficient. They're playing slow. They're playing fast. They also got one of the best freshmen in the league. Look, Coach Staley is the standard. As my man Mike Thomas say, let the standard be the standard. I do believe the South Carolina Gamecocks will win. South Carolina men ain't no joke either, just for the record. Look, I want y'all to understand, this sports thing is for fun. I'm here to watch. I don't care what your gender is. How is it that you don't want to watch the ladies basketball, but all y'all love Serena? Y'all love Serena, but y'all don't watch these sisters. Come on, man. Support these sisters. Let them get paid, because the more eyes, and I'm mad at the women in the world. All the ladies in the world who call themselves sports fans, y'all don't need to be wearing no more Kobe Bryant. Y'all don't need to be wearing no more LeBron jerseys. Y'all don't need to be wearing no more of these men's jerseys. Y'all need to start wearing some of these women jerseys. Y'all need to be at these women games. It need to be some bunch of these ladies at Chicago Sky in my town, the LA Sparks, the New York Liberty, the Phoenix Mercury. All these, y'all need to be supporting these ladies. Y'all, it ain't enough. And guess what? If y'all start going to the games, the brothers start going to the game, and then it'll be a packed house, and these sisters get paid. I'm just saying, man, support these sisters. It's good basketball. I see y'all in 166 hours. This is Hold My Biz Sports. I am H-Rap B, 2 fingers, 1 word, and guess what? Guess what? I am out.
Jesus. I mean, trust me, babe.